everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for another exciting Design Lab webinar. I am Emily. I am the community manager for Design Lab. Really, really excited that you're here. We're going to go over a few house rules before we introduce the topic, as well as all of our participants and our speaker. So really quick, if you want to say hello to each other and say hello in the chat, throw your LinkedIn information, network with each other, all that fun stuff. Engage with us during the presentation as well, and we'll engage right back. We have our team members saying hello right now, which is awesome. If you do have questions along the way, please post them in the questions tab on the right-hand side next to the chat tab, just so we make sure we are not missing any of your questions. So we are going to get started in a little bit. We're going to go through a really brief round of introductions just to introduce all of our panelists, and then we will be introducing Jim, who is our amazing presenter today, who's going to be taking us through how to design meetings that matter using Mural. So this is really awesome. So like I mentioned, I am Emily. I am the community manager at Design Lab, and I'm going to pass it on to Rudy to say hello.
Hi. I was not expecting to be the first person. Hello, I'm Rudy. I am one of the admissions reps here with Team Design Lab. I have used Mural a couple times before, but I'm excited to learn a lot more about this tool with you all today as well. And thanks to Jim for running us through everything. I'm going to popcorn over to Tim to introduce himself next.
Hey folks, how y'all doing? I'm really excited to be here and also learn more about Mural. I am I would say a longtime user and advocate of the tool, having first started using a couple of different tools back in the day, but then found that Mural had more bandwidth and capacity to take in the workshops I was running with 300 plus people. So I am really excited to use Mural with you all today and yeah, just be here and be a part of this. I'm going to pass it off to Sarah, who's just to the right of me on my screen.
Hi, everyone. I am Sarah, so I'm probably a new face to a lot of you. I am the learning content creator, and I work closely with Tim. So basically, I write the curriculum. And pretty familiar with Mural, but definitely going to be learning more with Jim hosting this webinar, so I'm really excited. I am based in Toronto, Ontario, for any Canadians out there. And if you hear train sounds, I live beside a railway station, so that's where it's coming from. And I'm gonna pass it to Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Campbell. I'm the mentor engagement lead here at Design Lab. I'm based out of Portland, Oregon. It's a gloomy day here. I have used Mural both as a student. I am a UXA alum, and I've used it in my work here with Design Lab. I think it's a great tool with a lot of nuance. So I'm excited to see the different ways that we can incorporate it into our day-to-day. And I will pass it over to David.
Hello, everybody. My name's David. I lead the product team here at Design Lab, and maybe you haven't figured it out by now, but we really enjoy using Mural. We actually use Mural for a lot of the work that we.
Oh no, he dropped.
Oops, did he drop?
I think he's about to say a lot of the work we do.
And with that said, we'll just pass it right on. Wait, hold on, David. What else do you want to say?
We love Mural, and we're really excited to have them here to teach us how to make the most of using this pretty great tool.
Thanks.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for that, everybody. Great to have you here. We're going to bring you back on to do a couple of quick exercises to just kind of demonstrate the feel and what not only using Mural, but what great meetings and collaboration could be. So let me get right into it. My name is Jim Kalbach. I am the Chief Evangelist at Mural. I've been with the company for over 7 years now. I do have a background in design and innovation, worked in various design teams, internal and external, in various companies. I'm also the author of a couple of books, including Mapping Experiences and the Jobs to be Done playbook most recently. But today I want to talk about designing meetings that matter and how we're thinking about designing meetings. First of all, I just wanted to point out, particularly because of the pandemic, but I think also in general, this idea of disconnection. This is a survey from Statistica showing that employees feel disconnected from the organization and from their colleagues. right? So it's kind of the other side of Zoom fatigue is you're also disconnected from your colleagues. And I'm a consummate home worker, remote worker, so I wouldn't give that up for anything. But I have to admit that forming connections and ties with my colleagues is harder when everybody's distributed and everything is kind of spread out, or hybrid situations as well too. So, we here at Mural, we really believe that connection and forming a sense of connection of people connected with their teams connected with each other, and even organizations connected with organization. That's really, really important, more so now than ever, right? So I asked myself, what is a meeting that matters? What matters? And the way that I'm seeing it right now is that there's a collaboration experience, I think, when you collaborate with your teams, that has two facets to it. First of all, you have a job to be done of solving problems together. That's why you're a team. You have a common challenge. And there are methods and ways to get from point A to point B, like design thinking methods, for instance, or design sprint is really about solving problems, right? I think what we need to think about when we think about meetings that matter or meaningful meetings is that we also need to think about ways that we can connect with each other, that we can build trust and dependability and psychological safety and all those great things that really are the hallmarks of high-performing teams. So in addition to solving problems, how are you going to get through your challenges you're trying to solve? What are the ways that your team connects? And I think a meaningful meeting does both of those things at the same time. This isn't the case where you go off and you do a team building event once a quarter, which isn't a bad thing. But this general problem around disconnection is not going to be solved in a quarterly team meeting with, trust falls or whatever the virtual equivalent of trust falls is. I think it's something that you need to do on a regular basis, on a daily basis, particularly if your team is distributed. I'm going to contend that by visualizing your work and by using a combination of tools, including Mural, that you can build this connection, this sense of connection while you're solving the problem. So it's not an either or, it's an and. Solve problems and connect as a team. I think that's how you're going to get more meaningful meetings. And the way to do that is think about collaboration in general as a design problem. And it's great that we're all designers, because then we can think about, what is an experience? What are the experiences that my colleagues are having? What are experiences if I'm leading a meeting with a client? What is their experience as well? And kind of at its core, an experience is all of the actions, thoughts, and feelings that a person has over time. So I like to think about experiences in terms of before, during, and after. When you think about meetings that matter, I'm going to talk about collaboration, I think, a little bit more broadly, right? Think about the before, during, and after. And again, it's not just the problem solving. It's not just the diverging and the converging and trying to solve your problem here in the middle, right? It's also about how do you connect as individuals and as a team, and then how do you reflect as well too. So diverge and converge, great. And let's think about, all the methods that do that. But what are the methods for connecting? What are the methods for reflecting as well too? So I want to go through before, during, and after, thinking about it from a collaboration design perspective, and then show some examples of things that you can do. Obviously, I'm using Mural here for this presentation. We're going to do some activities in it right now, soon, to kind of show what the feel of it should be. Not how it works. It's fairly simple. You zoom and pan and you add sticky notes. I'm not going to go over that in much detail, but I want to show you what it can feel like to use Mural for some of these connection rituals that you might be looking at. I think if you're thinking about a meeting and what can happen before, I think the big buzzword there is asynchronous collaboration. And you should be asking yourself, what can you do asynchronously? Super important, because the answer might be you don't even need the meeting, right? And we've heard so many jokes about that, particularly during the pandemic, that, wow, that meeting really could have been an email and things like that you hear. But I do think that thinking about how you're going to collaborate asynchronously before you even start collaborating is a really important part of collaboration design. And there's a couple things that you can do. I've had success with surveys. So actually trying to gather some of the input that you might normally do at the beginning of a call, for instance, you can actually just create a quick survey. I mean, with Google Sheets and other tools that are available, everybody on the call probably has access to a quick survey tool that they can pose a few questions to their collaborators in advance and collect some information. We're big users and proponents of Loom, which is a video tool. If you're not familiar with Loom, you can actually record yourself. There's a button in your browser and you hit it and you can actually record yourself. So, rather than having a long opening to your meeting, why don't you record it in advance and have people view the recording in advance, right? You don't need to gather a group of people together and have them, for 10 minutes watch your slides go by. You could do that in a Loom so that when you come together, you do what we call maximizing your together time. You can also kind of try to start the conversation before you get started as well, too. And the way that I like to do that, I actually have an example over here. This is something that I like to do, particularly for longer meetings or maybe more of a workshop, particularly if the people haven't met themselves before. If you work with clients, this is a great way to get introduced to your clients. And what I do is I create a welcome canvas. So in Mural, what I'll do is I'll set up a Mural canvas, and this is it's a slightly blurry image on purpose because I shouldn't be showing all of the detailed information on here. But at a high level, this is a Mural canvas here. And I give instructions before we're going to meet in an email. And I say, hey, thanks everyone for taking the time next Tuesday or whenever the meeting is. Before then, please come into this Mural canvas and claim an area and then fill it out. So I have a couple of prompts. So each one of these columns here, each one of these colored columns here is an area that you can claim. So you put your name at the top. And then there's a couple of prompts, add a photo of yourself, where you live, what hobbies you have, and then what questions you have about the topic at hand. You can change up those prompts as much as you want. Point is, I'm learning a little bit about the individuals, what their hobbies are, but I'm also getting some of their questions in advance as well, too. The other thing that I do is provide a little bit of value back. Why would people come in here and do this? Because I have links. And in this case, this is for workshops that I run. I also have a bookshelf and I have all these links here and resources that people can look at. And, so by doing this, you're actually, by having something like a welcome canvas, you're offloading some of your housekeeping and some of your upfront work that you might do typically you might do live when you're together. You're offloading that to asynchronous and you're doing it beforehand, right? The other thing that you're also doing is making sure that everybody has access to the tools, right? So, if you've ever used Mural in a meeting or a workshop before, there might be people who haven't been exposed to it and might even have problems accessing it. So when I do my workshops, I'll send a link out, like I said, and have people come in here. And every once in a while, I get somebody to say that'll say, I can't access it or I'm having trouble for some reason. Sometimes their companies have firewalls if I'm working with external clients and things like that. So it allows me to troubleshoot. By doing this in advance, it allows me to troubleshoot and then not take 15 minutes at the top of the meeting troubleshooting a tech problem, right? Because I think we've all been in meetings where, somebody's mic on Zoom doesn't work, or they can't get into the Mural Canvas, or they don't have access to the Google Docs. By doing these asynchronous work, in advance, like a welcome canvas, you're checking off a lot of boxes. You're getting to know each other personally a little bit here. You're starting to get into the topic by asking those questions, but you're also debugging the access to the software as well, too. That helps maximize your together time. Okay, so beforehand, see how much you can get done asynchronously, and you'd probably be surprised that there's a lot more that you can do asynchronously than you're currently doing with surveys, Loom videos, and things like welcome canvases. I like to think about connecting right away, even if your team is a team that meets regularly, but particularly if a team never met before. I'm glad we did the little popcorning exercise here. We had a little brief meeting beforehand to kind of get to know each other a little bit. And I think it's really important to kind of get set and get centered and get present to the other people who are there, right? So trying to get connected. And thinking about things like roles, you can think about assigning roles to people. Regulate turn taking. I'm actually going to talk about that in a minute. And popcorning is one of my recommendations, which we just did actually, by the way. But the other big one, this sounds very innocent, and you're probably going to say, yeah, but Jim, that's obvious, right? Do a check-in. And a check-in is just a way for everybody to declare that they're there in a very simple way. It can also be a playful way, but it's a great way for people to connect as human beings as well, and even to get started in the conversation. Check-ins are also really important for hybrid situations. If you're working with a team and you have some people remote and some people in the room, this has happened to me all the time. Even now, you know, towards the end of the pandemic or into the endemic, I'm not sure what phase we're in right now, but we've all kind of done the everybody working at home mode. And now as offices open up again, sometimes there's colleagues who are in an office, right? And this happens to me all the time where they just start talking, particularly the folks in the room, because they can see everybody. Right. So you walk into a meeting room, it's like, oh, I can see everybody. Here's Emily, here's David. Right. And then, oh, yeah, there's that webcam thing over there. And then they just start talking. And as a remote participant, I'm always like, wait, who's in the room? Right. So one of the great habits or hygiene factors that I can recommend particularly for hybrid work is to do a check-in. But it's also fun to do even if you're all remote or even if you're all in person as well too. So what we're going to do is I want to see if the design lab team can put their webcams back on, and we're going to do a simple check-in. This is something that we do at Mural quite a bit, do with our customers. It's a lot of fun. I mean, if you do it quickly, it's like 120 seconds. So don't tell me you can't find the time. You can't find 2 minutes to do a quick check-in. And this particular one is called Pick Your Nick. And what we're going to do is, by way of Nicolas Cage characters, we're going to identify how we're feeling or which emotion we identify with by first putting your name on a sticky note, change it to your favorite color. So grab a sticky note, change it to your favorite color, and then let us know which Nick you identify with the most. And I'm going to stop talking there and put my name on one of these. Yeah, I guess I'll go over here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I got to hold on 1 second. I don't do anything. I had that in the foreground. There you go. Should be better now for you guys. All right. All right. Well, okay. I'm on the East Coast here, so it's like at the end of my day. Jessica and Sarah, sorry to hear that you're a little stressed right now. Do you have some deadlines or something coming up?
Yeah, we're launching an all new version of the UX Academy, so we're hustling to get that ready.
Okay. Well, thanks for taking time to come and play with us here on the webinar. And I see fun. David, you're excited to be here too. I'm glad that you're excited. And fun fact, David and I met first in Japan. We were both speaking at the first time I met you in person. And I just remember sitting in that teeny bar upstairs in the Golden Guy, having a whiskey ginger or something like that. Let's see. Good that Emily's focused there. And Timothy, happy. It's always good too. Rudy, I think we've all had Bees Days before. I feel like people are just flicking popcorn at you today or something.
There's just so many things to be done. It's one of those situations where you're just swatting the bee that gets closest to your face. You know, you can't handle all the bees all at once. It's sort of a one thing at a time just to get through.
Well, we've all been there before, so I think we can empathize with you. And then we also see some favorite colors. By the way, I'm always purple, and my team knows that as well too. So, but if you do this over again, then you get these little color personalities that you can use and reuse as well too. So remember your favorite color there, because we're going to do something with that later. But thanks, guys. Thanks for helping out with that. So by doing this again, and you can imagine doing this digitally, and if you have folks who are in the room, they would either open up a laptop or use a large touchscreen like the one I have here behind me and do it as well too. Now, if you're collaborating in a hybrid situation where you have a mix of remote and in-person folks, you have everybody's name in front of you. So you know who the heck is in the meeting. Plus, you've also done a small exercise, a fairly harmless exercise, just to get a temperature check on how people are doing. Who's excited, who's stressed, who's nervous. You can have a little conversation. You don't even have to have the conversation like I just did as well too. I typically will do that and at least acknowledge the pattern. I often don't talk about it person by person, but I look at the patterns that emerge and say, this is how we're doing today. We're excited and stressed and focused, right? And Timothy happens to be happy. Good that Timothy's happy. So a check-in like this, I think, can go a really long way. It's a very, very small ritual that can help you connect your team. And again, if you do this at the beginning of every meeting, it becomes a habit. And guess what? You learn a little bit more about your colleagues. You connect with them each time. There's different versions of this, by the way. We have one with superheroes, with different cat photos. You can go out and find cat pictures on the web or inside of your organization. All kinds of different variations of this you can imagine as well too. We've even seen it where it's just a simple line, and it's a sunny day and a gloomy day, and then you put your name up against how you're feeling, what your mood is that day, kind of a mood marbles type thing. So there's lots of variations of this as well too. I just wanted to show one of them, one of the many dozens and dozens of ways that you can do a simple check-in, right? You can even do things in the Zoom chat and or the chat tool if you're using that as well too. So there's other ways to do check-ins. I find this visual way, it's really fun, and you can do things fun like pick your nick, but you also get the color there. You can see the motion, so you have this peripheral sense of presence for who's there. Again, very, very important for hybrid situations. So before you get started, take a moment to just take a breath and connect and get present to one another. It doesn't take that long. The other thing that's particularly painful, I think, particularly with remote settings as well too, is turn taking. And we've all been in those situations where two people talk over each other, or nobody talks, right? Or it's just one person talking and dominating the conversation. I think one of the advantages of more distributed teams, and one of the advantages of working more and more digital with tools like Mural, is that you can get more inclusion of voices and a diverse set of perspectives to the table. But that only works if you're actually letting people speak, or if you're letting people go, right? And I really love popcorning. I'm glad Emily actually called it that, because not everybody even uses the term popcorning. But popcorning is a turn-taking mechanism whereby the last person that goes picks the next person to go, right? So you would cycle through everybody, and if it's a status report or just checking in, you would kind of popcorn around. Now, we've actually started to experiment with something we're calling ping-ponging, which is when you have a hybrid situation, that is, some people are remote and some people are in person, you actually do, it's like popcorning in that the last person that goes picks the next person, but they have to pick somebody in the opposite mode of them. So if I'm in person, I got to pick somebody who's remote. And if they're remote, they have to pick somebody who's in the room. That way you really get present to who's who, but also where they are as well too. You can't forget the remote people, and the remote people have to know all the people who are sitting in the room as well too. That's why a check-in is really important too. I guess the point that I'm trying to make with these two examples here, the pick your nick and the things like ping-ponging, is that if we're thinking about collaboration as a design problem, right, that means you can bring your creativity to the table as well too, and come up with your own ways to take turns, right? We've done it with a visual board, so you can actually use the pick your nick now that you have all the names there, and you could do something like passing a ball. And sometimes we'll even go over here to the icon library in Mural, and you can just do a search for ball, and then you get a soccer ball. And what I would do is actually bring it up to the pick your nick. I'll just do it real quick here. And if we had to take turns here, what I could do is, now we have a roll call of everybody here, right? I can just pass the ball. So I'm going to pick Emily, and then Emily would go and she'd pick the next person. And then you could change your color to gray if you went already, so that you know who went. And just a small little mechanism like this can actually bring in not only more equality of voices and kind of an equal participation in the meeting, but fun, right? You're interacting in a visual way here with this pass the ball or with pick your nick, and you're actually making the meeting more playful, but in a serious way. Here at Mural, we like to talk about serious play. Right. And play is not a bad thing. I think somewhere along the way, maybe in school and college, this idea of play kind of got expunged from our vocabulary, and it's a bad thing. Like, don't play at work. Work is work. You know, play and work don't go together, those two words. But I think they absolutely go together. And I think that's part of connecting, that you can't connect with somebody else. You can't trust them. You can't develop psychological safety if you're not also willing to play with each other and to have fun with each other. That's often an input into healthy teams, is their willingness to play. And that's also how you learn. It's not only about creativity, that if you have a playful mindset, you're also going to be learning as well too. So you're all designers. Think about ways that you can do things like check-ins and turn taking. Think about ways that you can have fun even asynchronously before you get started meeting. And then another big question that we have is, how do you decide together, right? And you want to include everybody in the discussion, but you also need a way to make decisions. I like to create, when I think about meetings, and obviously I use Mural for almost everything that I do, but I'll actually use the Mural Canvas to map out my meeting. So if we're talking about collaboration design, the Mural Canvas is my meeting canvas as well too. And I'll think about the beginning, middle, and end, and I'll put that across the top. So my agenda is the headers in the Mural Canvas, and I'll even put times against those. So we're going to spend 10 minutes here and 10 minutes here and 10 minutes here. But then you also have the workspace. So you have the agenda and the workspace all in one flow, and you can see that in Mural. So Mural becomes a place to do meeting design, and then you can templatize that. That once you have a really good stand-up that everybody likes, you can create that as a template for other teams to use, or for your team to use later as well too. So thinking about visualizing your meeting in Mural is a really good idea. And it also then gives you the ability to have a template. Of course, we have a voting feature in Mural as well too, but you can also think of quick little ways to decide together, because I think that's really important, is how are you going to let everybody vote or decide? And I have a quick activity here that I think is really great. And I'd love to bring the team back on if that's okay. Hey guys. So let's say we just had a big meeting and we came down to this question here, and I put it up here as a scale. Where do you currently feel most comfortable collaborating with in your teams? And what I want you guys to do is grab one of those icons down below it and drag it to either remote or in person or in the middle, but also change the icon to your favorite color again as well too. I got a base here behind me. I'm gonna take the base. And I don't know how this is gonna turn out, by the way, because we did not rehearse this at all. But yeah, you can change the icon colors here in Mural, of course. Although mine, what happened? Oh, look at that. So I'm going to switch to the 8-ball. Couple of different clusters. And by the way, what I have here is called a Microsoft Surface Studio. It's a large 27-inch touch device. The cool thing about this is it also comes with a pen. And I find for hybrid collaboration, if you have a couple of these in the offices, it allows the folks who are in a meeting room sitting across from each other, it allows them to be digital, but they can still use, the pen and things like that. And I'm seeing a couple of clusters. I got this one and this one really. Oh, there's my guitar. I don't know why that went away. But we got some remote fans. Who put their thing down way down on the remote end? I did. Yeah, Emily. Who's the other one? Was that David?
It's me. I'm the gamepad because I'm a gamer.
Oh, you're a gamer. Okay, there you go. See, you're expressing yourself. And I know your favorite color is blue. So I know that Sarah is a gamer and her favorite color is blue. And I also know that she likes remote work. You feel very comfortable working remote, Sarah?
Yeah, it's not all the way at the end because because I do like in-person one-on-ones with people in my city.
There you go. So, and who was the cupcake? Emily, you don't like people? Is that what you're saying?
When you've worked in retail for 12 plus years, you very much prefer being remote.
Yeah, I'm with you. And if you didn't take that position, I would have done it actually. So, but I do like to go to the office like once a year. I like to see people. I like to see people. The question is how often. I don't need to see people every week. You know what I mean? I can go for long periods of time, but I do like to meet people in person. And then we had a cluster in the middle there this is the hybrid crowd. You guys are going in the office 2 days a week. Is that what that means? David, Jessica?
No, I mean, really, we're all completely remote. It's just more, I think for me, I like talking to people. I would love to talk to people every week. So I like having that time to really ramp up and connect. And it could be just over chat, or like over a huddle or a one-on-one like this. It doesn't have to be in person necessarily. Totally. I do prefer to work at my house and not have to go to an office.
Yeah, David, I see you nodding. Rudy, you're also nodding. Same feeling or anything new to add? Thumbs up. What she said.
I was conflicted because of the phrasing of the question. I was like having a semantics battle because I think I feel equally comfortable collaborating either in person or remotely. Yeah. It's not a comfort thing, but I erred a little bit more on the remote side because I do have a personal preference toward a remote first work style.
Gotcha.
So,
understand. Yeah, I'll have to reword that question. That's a good one. But yeah, thanks for that. And you can see here, everybody got a chance to participate, and all they had to do was drag something over. And when you think about the different modes in which people are going to interact, I think that's also important, because we can't assume that the in-person group is going to have access to computers and things in front of them. They might have a shared screen, but they might actually have a mobile device as well too in their hand. Or you might have somebody dialed in remotely who's on an iPad, or who's at a Starbucks in New Zealand on an iPhone, right? So you'll also want to think about designing simple things like the check-in or turn taking, or in this case, a decision making. How can you design it so it's very, very easy for everybody to participate? Again, I think working visually helps visualize the vote, but it also allows for a lot of participation, because not everybody has to talk. You can see the clumps and the clusters, so you get to participate without necessarily having to wait your turn on an audio call. All right, thanks for that, everybody. Appreciate it. So think about how you're going to connect. Think about how you're going to open up. Think about things like turn taking. Think about how you're going to close and how you're going to decide together. But also think about what you're going to do afterwards. And this is something where I've personally gotten caught. You know, you set up a workshop or a meeting, and then you really have no plan what you're going to do afterwards. But how are you going to keep the momentum together is the big question here. Of course, then after, by definition, if you're meeting, afterwards is then asynchronous again, right? So you need to think about how are you going to continue the thought exercise asynchronously. And guess what? If you're thinking about using digital tools as the basis for your collaboration, you can continue to work in those digital tools as well too, whether that's a cloud-based document like a shared Google document, or something like Mural. Thinking about how you're going to leverage that afterwards to keep the momentum going. Give quote unquote homework assignment to the group to come back and to summarize or to interact with it. But you can also then loop in other people who weren't there, who weren't present. Right? If you're thinking and working digitally, you have a record of the meeting. Even the pick your nick, you have a record of that as well too. So you're really trying to capture things so that you can keep the momentum together. But I also mentioned, connect and reflect. And I think reflecting is really important. I like to use this little reflection mechanism right here. And you know what? I think we didn't plan on this, but I'm going to ask the team to come back on. I'm going to summon you guys all over here. And if we, just think about our little experiment here and my presentation, you can interpret it any way that you want. But I like to use rose, thorn, bud. And rose, thorn, bud is super simple. The roses are the things that resonated with you. The thorns are the things that you can improve. And the buds are your key takeaway. What did you learn? And I use this to reflect on just about anything. So we could reflect on the team. We could reflect on the content. We could reflect on how well we problem solve together. So I'm gonna just reflect on the two exercises that we did together so far: the pick your nick and the deciding exercise. And I'm just gonna ask each of you to put in a rose, thorn, or bud, a couple of them there. And that's what I'll do. I even do this asynchronously. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll give this exercise to a team, and then I come back to it later, because then it's a little bit better because it's anonymous, actually, because I'm not staring over them like I'm doing right now. Everybody's putting roses on there. Can we get a thorn? Any thorns? Who's the critical person amongst us? David, give me a thorn. But yeah, Buds, what are your takeaways as well too? And I do this regularly even just after meetings, we'll do this to reflect on, how was that collaboration, or how well did we solve the problem? Again, you can take any item, element, aspect of your collaboration and reflect on it, right? So it could be how well did we connect, or it could be how well did we solve our problem, right? And I find as a facilitator, I do a lot of workshop facilitation. This is super, super helpful for me to just get this quick feedback. Again, it might only take 120 seconds. So don't tell me you don't have time to connect, and don't tell me you don't have time to reflect, right? Because it's very, very quick, and you can even do some of that asynchronously as well too. Yeah, the internet problems here, internet connectivity. Yeah. All right. So we're getting some feedback there. Thanks for that, guys. I appreciate it. All right. That was a little improvised there because I didn't ask them to do that, or they didn't know they were going to be doing this there as well too. So I'm just going to wrap up here then. And I guess if we can think about collaboration as an experience that has a before, during, and after, and we can think about designing collaborations, then you can all step up and be what we call a collaboration designer. And a collaboration designer is someone who puts in effort into the intentionality behind your collaboration. What are you doing before? What are you doing during? And what are you doing after? Somebody who's paying attention to, does everybody get a chance to speak? Can everybody access the tools from where they are, whatever device they have as well too? So this idea of taking your design thinking mindset and applying it to collaboration, right? Because I think collaboration has never been more important, particularly now in the pandemic and post-pandemic world. And I think we spend so much of our working days collaborating that being more deliberate about it, I think, is exactly what we need. And we need people to step up and be collaboration designers. Now, that could be your professional title, but I see collaboration design and a collaboration design. It's a skill set that anybody who leads conversations can have, right? That we can think about ourselves as collaboration designers if we lead a conversation, right? I personally think that using a canvas, a mural canvas, and similar to kind of map out your flow, even if you don't get to it, you still have this map, and also to be interacting visually, I think is really important because it engages people at different levels at different times. And it doesn't rely on talking heads and taking turns on Zoom, because only one person can talk at a time. If you're visualizing your work, multiple people can contribute all at the same time. So it's actually more efficient to think and work visually as well too. Now, we've just launched here at Mural a new category, a new program called Collaborative Intelligence. And we have the principles of collaboration that we have here. I'm just going to copy this and put it in the chat for folks if you want to download our principles of collaboration there and check out Collaborative Intelligence as well too. So I just wanted to leave 3 things that you can do. Small rituals can have a big effect, right, on making meetings matter. Small rituals can have a big effect on creating a connection between your teammates as well too. So think about the rituals that you have, and think about the rules of engagement that are maybe even inherent in your organization. By that I mean you're not really thinking about it. You just walk into a meeting and you all kind of behave in some way. I think it's time to question that. And the way to change that is ritual by ritual, right? Just nudge people into a new place. And I showed a couple of examples here, but use your own imagination and use your own design skills to come up with new ways to collaborate. Strive to connect teams. It's not just about coming together and solving problems. You also have to come together as a team, because then you'll solve problems better, by the way. And then, be deliberate about collaboration. So think about the design of the collaboration experience as well too. So with that, I guess we're going to move into discussion or questions, Emily.
We actually don't have much, but I wanted to ask you, we're talking about designing meetings and using Mural to really streamline the process and make everyone feel connected.
Yeah.
because we're here as designers, I'm going to assume most of us are. What are some examples that someone can actually use this for, like a design meeting with a purpose? Like, you know, whether it's like brainstorming through ideas, features, all that stuff. Like, what are some examples?
Yeah, I mean, what you know, I talked about templates, and I mean, you know, I'll zoom out on this one here, but you know, here's my presentation. But if I were thinking about a brainstorming session, here, can I just show you really quickly how I'd think about that?
Let's do it.
I'd open up a new canvas. You can also have templates too. Interestingly enough, I work with our template team, but I myself don't use a lot of templates, only because I just like to do it by hand. But I would think about the meeting itself, and I very often have I'll put a big header here at the top. I very often on the left hand side, I'll have a little bit of housekeeping, like who all's involved, right? Or who was there. One thing that I like to do is when people show up, and I'm just going to do it here really quickly. When people show up to the meeting, I take a screenshot of the webcams, and I'll just do a quick roll call like this here. So I might even have like links to other resources here, or what's the project goal that we're trying to do? What's our goal? And I usually put that over on the left, and I call that kind of housekeeping or setup. But then I'll think about what I'll do is I'll say, okay, we're gonna brainstorm, and I'll put a big header here. How long do we need for brainstorming, Emily?
I don't know. Let's say like 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. And I'll put the time here. And I'll just actually pre-format this canvas before we get going. And then we're going to cluster, right? Clustering usually takes more than 5 minutes. So I'm going to give us 20 minutes for clustering. I find that it takes a longer time, right? And then we're going to prioritize here. And then I might even go over here and grab a grid. I'm going to go over here and grab a grid. So we're going to prioritize on this 2x2 grid over here. And I'll pre-populate that over here. And then the next thing we might do is a roadmap or something like that, right? But what I like to and I like to go left to right. Some people like to go top bottom, but I'll literally put the beginning, middle, and end of my meeting out on the top of the canvas, then structure the space below it. Think about things like the time that it's going to take you to do this. And I'll cognitively walk through this and say, wait, oh, is 5 minutes enough time? If not, I might add another 5 minutes there. You know, how much time do we need for clustering? Oh, is that enough space? And I'll actually think about that, kind of walk through it on, you know, in my mind on how that's going to work. So it helps me debug my own collaboration design by mapping things out. Because then you start saying, oh, wait, that's not nearly enough time. Or, oh, we can't, before we prioritize, we have to vote. So I forgot a voting session. And so maybe I'll add a vote, right? Because we don't want to prioritize everything. We want to vote. So then I'll think about that, put that over here, and then vote, right? So this is how I think about, you know, collaboration design in Mural. The other thing that I do sometimes too is I'll put a break in here, Emily. I'll just say break, you know, and put 5 minutes. So literally, I mean, literally, my agenda is the headlines of this Mural canvas. So when I send it out, not only do I know what's going to happen, everybody else does too. They can see, oh, we're going to brainstorm, cluster, vote, take a break, come back and prioritize. Like they know exactly what's going to happen, right? So this is really rudimentary, but if I like this, I can save it as a template and use it again and again and again, or my colleagues can use it as well too. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Jim, I have a follow-up question. So once all the voting's done, like, does the finalized stuff continue in Mural, or do you guys take it somewhere else, like in Docs?
It depends. It depends. Sometimes it will, but very often we do find that there is another side of Mural, right? That you need to put things into a presentation, or it needs to go into GitHub or Jira, or it needs to go into a document. And we do have some ways. To export things, and we do have some integrations as well too. Even in integration with GitHub and Jira. So if you were doing sprint planning here, I can actually just send a group of sticky notes over to Jira, and it'll take each sticky note and make it in a separate issue. I can cut and paste from here and put it into a spreadsheet. I can download the Mural canvas. I can upload spreadsheets into Mural as well too. So that's one thing that I like to think about as well too. And sometimes I'll even have here's what I also do, Emily. I might even have, I'll put a box over here and I'll call it something like key takeaways. And I might make that like the size of a PowerPoint slide, because I'll say, maybe the goal of this project team is to decide on something that's going to be then decided on by the project sponsor. So what we really need, they don't need to see all the detail on how we got there. What they really need are the decisions and the conclusions we came from. So I might even set that up in advance so that I know that I can just put all the sticky notes that we end up with in here, whatever our decision is, and then take a screenshot of that and put it into PowerPoint as well too. So thinking about where you're heading, I think, is also a big part of collaboration design. Again, you don't want to get caught off guard with no plan on what happens next. So you want to be giving people calls to actions. You want to have things set up in place to point into your next step, whatever that might be: Jira, PowerPoint, another document, another mural canvas, right? You want to have that kind of that next step set up to keep the momentum going. And I think if you do this, if you kind of assume this role of a collaboration designer, again, that's not your professional title, but you're just kind of stepping up and saying, I'm going to design this interaction. It gives you the ability to initiate meetings. And it also, I think it'll also create more successful meetings. So then you'll be the person that is asked back to initiate the meeting, right? And I know as a designer, that was always something I struggled with. Groups and decisions going on that happen over my head or on the side, and I didn't know about them happening. And I was, always trying to get a seat at the table or insert myself, right? And I think if you're very intentional about your meetings and help the team not only connect but get to its goals, that's a way for you to then be seen as the person who's going to be leading the conversation, right? So there's this halo effect about stepping up and being a collaboration designer that comes back onto your role and to your work as well too, because now you're in the middle point of things.
So we do have a kind of very tangentially related question from Alex. Do you have any suggestions for brainstorming meetings where you may want a free-flowing conversation so that people can chime in on the spot, but then you find out that only a handful of people are actually vocal?
That only a handful of people are actually vocal? Oh, yeah. What I like to do. So what I like to do is I almost never leave a blank canvas like this. One thing that I like to do is, sorry, I just want to change this to square. What I like to do is set up regions for people to work in. So if I have, I don't know, if we have like 5 people, right? I'll set up a bank of sticky notes here. Or I might, the other way that I do it is sometimes I only put like 3 sticky notes and say, give me your top 3 items that you're brainstorming here. So I'll actually set this up in advance and say, claim an area, everybody claim an area below, and you have to fill out all of them. Or, some limitation to make them interact with this, right? Then might be take your top 3 or something like that. But I find that if you set things up in advance, it encourages people to collaborate more. Plus, they have their name against it. And I think if they come over here and do nothing, you're actually going to see that. Again, when you're working visually, though, you don't have to wait for your turn. So there's actually a huge efficiency here, because I'm not going around and saying, everybody give me your 3 ideas. I'm saying, everybody give me your 3 ideas, and you do it all at the same time. And then you go back and look and cluster. And I like to, as much as possible, because you want to make it super simple for people to come in here and get started. I like to, as much as possible, pre-format the mural with sticky notes. So all that people have to do is click on a sticky note and add. And then verbally give a constraint on top of it that makes them contribute, right?
Got it.
Yeah. And then popcorning is the other thing. So what I would do when I like to cluster, what I like to do is you pick on one person and you say, okay, drag over a sticky note and read off what it is. And then say, does anybody else have a sticky note that's related to that? So the team is group clustering into that sticky note. Then that person gets to pick the next person to go, and they read off a sticky note. And then whoever has one that's similar clusters into that. And you just keep going around until everybody's had a chance to read off a unique sticky note, and then the clusters form at one by one at the same time.
Before we go to Tim's question, I have a follow-up question to this.
Yeah.
What tools or processes have been either like removed entirely or reduced significantly in, I guess, like, you know, in your workplace because of Mural?
That's a good question. I think transcribing sticky notes, physical sticky notes, right? Picking up sticky notes that don't stick to the wall. I'm busting on physical whiteboards now. I could do this all day long, but well, I mean, here's one thing, and I just kind of did it. What I find is that the more and more you use Mural, you start realizing that the backstage and the front stage don't need to be in two separate places, right? We tend to, I mean, I just did a brainstorming exercise over here to the right, and that tends to be messy and not the front stage of your presentation. In fact, I even said you might want to, you know, put your decision in a separate place. But what I actually find is that the backstage work that you do, and then you have to clean it up or synthesize it and then present it to somebody else, that can all be in one place. So one reason why I wanted to do my presentation here in Mural today and not in PowerPoint, sometimes I use PowerPoint, but I didn't today, is because we wanted to work here as a team. So what this allows me to do is front stage, I talked about this, and then we went backstage, and it was all in one place, right? So I don't know if that's a specific answer, but it's a general answer to think about what is the real difference between front stage and backstage. And I have a colleague at a large financial institution. He's a very senior person in design in general, even outside of his organization. And he's told me that he actually then works that way, that he does a lot of design strategy work. He'll be in a Mural and it's all messy, and then he cleans it up and he brings his high-level stakeholders into that canvas, and they look at that, and then based on that feedback, he just goes over to the right and continues working based on their feedback, and then he'll clean that up. So he not only has his front stage and his backstage, he has multiple front stages and backstages all in one canvas, right? And this idea of, oh, I gotta type up all these sticky notes and then mop it up and then put it in, and then go through and format a really good looking PowerPoint presentation is like, no, it all just happens in one place there, right? So I like the idea of the compression of front stage and backstage all in one.
I love it. All right. So final question, and this one's from Tim, and this one is just like it's an out of the box question, but what are some of the most unique or extravagant things you've seen Mural used for?
It's funny because, yeah, I mean, all kinds of things. I'm very customer facing, so I see all kinds of things in Mural. And, you know, it was very satisfying for me during the pandemic because, well, we believe we have a tool that helps, you know, teams collaborate, particularly when everybody was remote. But beyond that as well, too, we believe the future is digital and the future is visual as well, too. But just the inventiveness of things in Mural, and some of the more interesting things come from often personal use, like people planning weddings or their home renovation or planning a vacation in Mural. That's a little bit solitary, and I do that too. I can show you my home renovations in a Mural canvas. But I've also seen lots of very, very elaborate and kind of well-designed Mural canvases, sometimes even importing images and like 3D effects so that you really create this immersive experience in Mural. And again, using Mural as front stage and backstage at the same time, but then making it this big immersive experience. I've seen quite elaborate uses of Mural in that way.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, I think we are at time. So thank you, Jim, so much. This was actually really fun. Like I said, we usually just kind of self-direct ourselves. So for someone to be like, we're in a fake meeting right now, we're going to do all these activities. This is awesome. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We hope you learned something from this new tool. Also, you know, if you are a design student, you can also use this for what is it, like affinity mapping. You can use this for a lot of your assignments as well. So it certainly is not just for planning meetings, writing agendas. Like there's so many uses for this. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, if you end up introducing this at your workplace, take a picture, tag us, show us, what you created. I'm sure we'd love to see it. I'm sure Mural would love to see it as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So before we hop off, Rudy is going to jump on really quickly to share a little bit of exciting information for anyone who is not already a part of our community and is thinking about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to Jim. This was super fun. And also, it's awesome to see so many familiar names of folks that I've had a chance to connect with as you have enrolled in Design Lab's courses. So hi to everyone who I've emailed with before. And for those folks who maybe haven't enrolled with Design Lab, if you are eager to learn more about our courses, we would love to chat with you over on the admissions team. I'm going to drop our email in the chat. So feel free to connect with us. We'd love to talk with you more.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. This is recorded, so if you need to refer back to this, you should get an email with the recording. Otherwise, keep an eye out on our YouTube channel. This will be uploaded there as well. And Jim, if you'd like to share that link out with other folks, feel free. But yeah, thank you, everyone, so much for being here. Have a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you again. We really appreciate your time, and we will see you all soon, hopefully. Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.